Senecio Madagascariensis is a flowering plant commonly known as Madagascar Ragwort or Fireweed. It is a genus Senecio plant that belongs to the daisy family Asteraceae. This plant produces yellow flowers and it is native to the mountainous, rocky area. The plant generally grows in disturbed areas like roadsides, agricultural fields, open woodland, waste areas, and barren land. This plant becomes famous due to its notoriety as an invasive weed spread in various parts of the world, particularly in New Zealand and Australia. Due to its rapid spread characteristics, it is commonly known as fireweed. Distinguishing features of fireweed Senecio Madagascariensis. The fireweed Senecio Madagascariensis plant is characterized by its vertical stem, which can grow from 10 cm to 60 cm depending on growing conditions. Fireweed Senecio Madagascariensis produces bright yellow flowers on the vertical stem. Each flower head contains various small florets. Flowers have 12 to 15 yellow color petals that are 5 to 15 centimeters long and flower bases are surrounded by a greenish bracket. Senecio Madagascariensis plant can have single or multiple stems from the base of the plant. Stem is further divided into subbranches and can bear a large number of flower heads. It has stalkless leaves having different sizes. Usually, they are narrow and elongated in shape. Some plants have deeply lobed, toothed leaves. History of Senecio Madagascariensis. Despite its name, Madagascariensis is not native to Madagascariensis, but it has originated from South Africa. Further, it was introduced to Madagascariensis and then it became an invasive weed in Australia. Senecio Madagascariensis plant first introduced to Madagascariensis in the late 1800s. It came unintentionally through agricultural seeds and soil. Once it was introduced to Australia, Senecio Madagascariensis rapidly spread throughout various regions, especially the eastern and southern parts of the country. It spread very quickly, especially in a place like a roadside, a barren garden, or a deserted place. Because of its rapidly spreading nature, it became an invasive weed. Growth calendar of Senecio Madagascariensis. The journey starts in late spring when the days are getting long and the temperature begins to rise. When the soil warms up and moisture levels are just right is the best time to germination of Senecio Madagascariensis seeds. In the early summer, this plant rapidly grows as this plant thrives in warm weather. In late summer it produces multiple bright yellow flowers. The flower lasts for 5 to 10 days, then it becomes a fluffy seed head. As the seed head becomes mature, it releases its seed into winds spread across various locations. Seeds remain dormant waiting for a suitable condition for germination. The germination process starts in later spring. Why is Senecio Madagascariensis such a pesky weed? Fireweed is one of the worst weeds in Australia due to its invasive nature, potential to spread, and negative impact on the environment. It is a toxic plant if livestock overgraze. It can damage the liver of livestock. It can cause a slowdown of the growth, illness, and poor conditioning of the cattle. This plant has pyrrolizidine alkaloids which can cause damage to the liver if livestock overgraze it. How does it spread? A single plant of Senecio Madagascariensis can produce 10,000 seeds every year. Seeds spread through the different areas via animals, wings, birds, and along with agricultural seeds. This plant has shallow roots which allow the plant to fall on the ground with the small impact of wind. When this happens, stem will sprout root wherever it remains touching the ground. Senecio Madagascariensis control. Controlling Senecio Madagascariensis is a very difficult task. Due to its invasive nature, it spreads very fast. We can adopt some procedures to control this plant's spread. You can remove these plants by pulling or digging out individual plants. This process is very effective in small areas where other methods are not feasible. After pulling the plant, dispose of it with proper care so that it does not further spread, or you can burn the pulling or digging out the plant. Allow livestock to graze where this plant growing rapidly, but avoid overgrazing this plant. Overgrazing on this plant can be toxic to livestock. As several herbicides are available in the market to control Madagascar Ragwort, the selection of herbicides depends on the surrounding vegetation and potential impact on the environment. To apply the combination of various control methods together to prevent weed growth like manual removal plus herbicides plus grazing livestock etc. Or engage landowners, community groups, and other growers to take effective steps to control the spreading of Senecio Madagascariensis or fireweed. What herbicide kills fireweed Senecio Madagascariensis? Triclopyr, glyphosate, picloram, 2,4-D, and dicamba are commonly used herbicides to control this weed. Senecio Madagascariensis is a highly invasive weed, especially in grassland, roadsides, pasture, and barren land. There are no specific herbicides to control this weed. But you can apply above-mentioned herbicides to control this weed. Here are 20 FAQs along with their answers about Senecio Madagascariensis. What is Senecio Madagascariensis? Senecio Madagascariensis, commonly known as Madagascar Fireweed or Madagascar Ragwort, is a species of flowering plant in the daisy family Asteraceae. It is native to Madagascar but has become an invasive weed in various parts of the world. How does Senecio Madagascariensis spread? Senecio Madagascariensis primarily spreads through wind-dispersed seeds. These seeds can be carried over long distances by wind currents, facilitating the plant's rapid spread. What are the ecological impacts of Senecio Madagascariensis invasion? Senecio Madagascariensis can outcompete native vegetation, reducing biodiversity in invaded areas. It can also alter soil composition and nutrient cycling, affecting ecosystem processes. Is Senecio Madagascariensis toxic to animals? Yes, Senecio Madagascariensis contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which are toxic to livestock and wildlife if ingested in large quantities. Consumption of this plant can cause liver damage and even death in animals. What are the control methods for Senecio Madagascariensis? Control methods for Senecio Madagascariensis include mechanical removal, herbicide application, and biological control using natural enemies such as insects or pathogens. Can Senecio Madagascariensis be controlled using herbicides? Yes, selective herbicides can be effective in controlling Senecio Madagascariensis in certain situations. However, careful application is necessary to minimize damage to non-target plants and the environment. Is Senecio Madagascariensis a threat to agriculture? Yes, Senecio Madagascariensis can compete with crops for resources and space, potentially reducing agricultural productivity in invaded areas. What are the economic impacts of Senecio Madagascariensis invasion? The economic impacts of Senecio Madagascariensis invasion include costs associated with control measures, crop losses, and reduced land value in affected areas. Are there any biological control methods for Senecio Madagascariensis? Yes, efforts are underway to develop biological control methods for Senecio Madagascariensis, including the introduction of specialized herbivores or pathogens that target this invasive plant species. What are the characteristics of Senecio Madagascariensis seeds? Senecio Madagascariensis seeds are small, light, and equipped with structures that aid in wind dispersal, allowing them to spread over large distances. How long does it take for Senecio Madagascariensis to establish a population? Senecio Madagascariensis can establish a population relatively quickly, especially in favorable environmental conditions. Seeds germinate readily, and the plant can reproduce rapidly, leading to the formation of dense infestations. Can Senecio Madagascariensis be confused with other plant species? Yes, Senecio Madagascariensis can be confused with other species in the Senecio genus, as well as with some other yellow flowering plants. However, certain key characteristics, such as leaf shape and growth habit, can help distinguish it from similar species. What are the native predators or herbivores of Senecio Madagascariensis? In its native range, Senecio Madagascariensis likely has natural predators or herbivores that help keep its population in check. However, these natural enemies may not be present in regions where the plant has been introduced as an invasive species. What research is being done to manage Senecio Madagascariensis invasion more effectively? Ongoing research aims to develop more effective control methods for Senecio Madagascariensis, improve our understanding of its biology and ecology, and assess the impacts of its invasion on ecosystems and economies. How can I identify Senecio Madagascariensis? Senecio Madagascariensis can be identified by its yellow, daisy-like flowers and deeply lobed, fern-like leaves. It typically grows as a sprawling herbaceous plant, often forming dense mats or patches. What are the common names for Senecio Madagascariensis? Senecio Madagascariensis.